It's great to be here. Thank you all for being here. I too am very, very excited to meet you all in person after quite a long break. Since the last time we were together, what was it, Anaheim, right, 2019, there's been a lot of change in the world around us. We've heard a talk about earlier this morning, but also, in the last few years, quite a bit of talk about the metaverse and implications that brings to the world around us. Raj said this morning that the change is coming, but we don't quite know what it is, right? So we thought, with that in mind, my team was kind of thinking, let's have some fun with it and let's explore what is the art of possible when it comes to this brave new world of digital realities, right? So I wanted to show you a very brief video that is designed to really inspire some conversations and some thought. So let's take a look at that.
So let's take a quick tour around this VR space. What we have here is a concept for a digital twin of a network health dashboard. Looking around you can see there's tons of space here for info panels, maps, whatever you need to monitor and troubleshoot your network. You could use it for network planning, simulating different scenarios, or even use it for training employees and customers. And when something goes wrong, you can bring in the people you need to help you solve the problem. Hello, is anyone there?
Hey Laura, it's Michael. I'm over here. Just got an alert. Did you break something again?
Hey Michael. I swear I didn't touch anything. I was just giving a tour of this place, and this is what happened. Nice avatar, by the way.
Yeah, well, I wanted something a bit more dignified, but this is what they gave me. Anyway, let's pop up a map.
Sure, give me a second. There, what do you think?
So yeah, it looks like there's congestion on one of the service slices for the mobile broadband. Let's go ahead and troubleshoot it.
Sure, sounds good. There, so what do you think?
Yeah, okay, so the service is still up, that's good. But looking across those layers, that router down there on the physical layer seems to have an issue.
This one?
Yeah, the red one. What's it say if you click it? Regional aggregation point. Okay, I'd spin up a digital twin of the rack.
Got it. There you go.
Right, so there's a problem with that port there that's flashing red.
Let me see what it says if I click it.
Alright, some sort of misalignment between the intended config and the actual deployment. Somebody must have changed that on site. Let's just go ahead and click a line and see what happens.
Oh, it worked. That was really easy.
Yeah, it looks fine now. The flashing red port is cleared, the configs match, and if we look over the map, everything's green. Everything's back to normal. That's great.
That is great. Thanks for walking me through all of this. Give me 5.
Yeah. Alright, that was a bit awkward. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit. But thanks for your help. Where are you going now? What are you doing?
Hey, what are these for? Do they actually do anything? Maybe I can just add bandwidth anywhere? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, maybe you should just go now.
You're right. Bye, Laura.
Bye, Michael.
Now, I'm not trying to suggest that this is what your NOx will look like next year, but it's interesting to really see the power of these new platforms and think about the implications on our industry and things like operation centers, collaboration, troubleshooting, and things like that, visualization and things like that, but also on other aspects of the networking, right? What I find quite fascinating, and I'm just curious, by the show of hands, how many of you have used these VR headsets before? Some, not too many. I've been using mine. I had got an Oculus headset a few years ago, and by no means am I an experienced user. I actually just play table tennis, right, pretty much all the time. But what I find really fascinating, I used to write computer games when I was a kid, and I was always interested in kind of how real and how realistic these experiences can be. What I find fascinating with these experiences is how immersive they are, how real that table tennis game is when you play against someone in a different country. Sometimes I live in Canada, so sometimes I play with people in Europe even, and how real that experience can be, provided that the network connectivity is there to support it, right? So there's definitely this human augmentation and immersive experiences that are happening, right? And you see this in many industries, right? You see it in manufacturing, you see it in warehouses, you see it in many, many different aspects of our lives. And those applications are just, I think, just starting right now. And as Vaj said, we don't know what comes next, but there's definitely going to be quite a few developments there, right? And then the second part is this whole digital-physical fusion, the digital replicas of the physical worlds, right? Rudy talked about the digital twins and what are the other things we could be doing in our industry to support that, but also supporting other industries that create these experiences, right? So then there is the question of the implications on the networks that we build, right? We talked earlier this morning about the implications on performance expectations, on latency expectations. That ping pong game that I play, they do the ping measurement and they display it in a top corner while you're playing, right? And you can see that, you know, if your latency is somewhere around 50, 60, 70 milliseconds, you're fine. Once you cross about 100 milliseconds, it gets a little bit sluggish, and then if it goes beyond that, you probably need to quit the game and find someone who's closer to you and play. But there is definitely this aspect of what will happen as more and more of these applications and more mission-critical applications require more stringent service requirements, right? And then what does it mean for us in terms of the slicing, in terms of the control, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with availability, the reliability of the platforms, reliability of the networks that we talked about earlier to support these applications. And last but not least, where a lot of the automation comes into play and controllers is the responsiveness, right? This kind of dynamic adaptive infrastructure requires the controllers that can respond to the changes, make connections between these applications quickly, react to the changes in these dynamic networks very, very effectively, right? So there's quite a few implications there. And a lot of these changes are happening actually, as Rudy said, in the edge cloud, right? A lot of the problems related to capacity, related to latency, related to privacy and security will be solved closer to the subscriber in these edge clouds, right? And Rudy talked about it as well, right? These changes that are happening, both coming from the central core side, bringing applications closer to the subscriber, right, which is inevitable, as well as the things like user plane functions for the core, et cetera. And on the other side, changes coming from the access, from the radio cloud RAN side, and those applications, access applications moving into the cloud. So a lot of action there. And Rudy talked about us launching earlier in the year Edge Network Controller, right? Purpose-built application that solves very specific need in this environment, right? Highly dynamic connectivity for very stringent set of requirements that exist in these small footprint locations that are edge clouds. Small footprint for the controller itself is key, and autonomous operations, right? Because you can't expect that there's always going to be 100% reliable connectivity to the core data centers, right? So the things have to keep running while this is happening. So when we designed Edge Network Controller, we took those constraints in mind, and we basically took a bet that Kubernetes is going to be the infrastructure that is orchestrated, that is deployed already in vast majority, if not all of these locations, right? And instead of building a new platform, we decided to simply extend the Kubernetes to become not just the controller for storage and compute, but also to extend it to the networking, right, side. So what it means is that by using the Kubernetes operator framework, by using the Kubernetes APIs, by using the custom resource definitions, we introduce the networking knowledge and networking constructs into that infrastructure. And then, basically, as I said, Kubernetes becomes your compute storage and network controller that exposes all of these aspects equally. Now, There's a breakout session that Hans has tomorrow on this, a lot more detail on that, and there's a couple of demos that you can see in the demo room. I do encourage you to go and see it. It's really, really powerful when you see it in action. But building this edge network controller this way has actually other implications. And one of them is, Rudy touched on this, the importance of fitting into this new way of managing configurations in a network. Basically, your infrastructure as a code, your CI/CD pipelines that run through the tooling, IT tooling that already exists, right? So by doing it this way, we allow these configurations to be done using exactly the same GitOps procedures that exist already for your network, for your storage and for your compute. At the same time, any integrations into CNCF ecosystem, and those are many, and you might be using Grafana to visualize something and using Prometheus. All of these integrations come basically out of the box because of the way ENC is implemented by extending the Kubernetes infrastructure, right? And then we've taken this approach and applied it across the entire adaptive cloud networking portfolio. When you think about what Rudy was just talking about, evolution of FSS and what it brings there, and then I'll talk obviously a little bit more about our flagship product, Network Services Platform, which does the same, takes the same concepts into the wide area network. And those concepts really rely on a bit of a separation of concern and roles and responsibilities in your operations, right? You have network designers who, with these approaches, can now define these declarative intents and truly design what the network configurations and service configurations should look like. They express this using declarative intents, and then they allow consumers of the network to consume that. They don't need to know about all the details. They need to just provide certain parameters, and those consumers of the network could be API applications that are invoking APIs, or could be humans that are clicking on a GUI, or it could be even operations teams that are just monitoring things. But they don't need to know all the details of the network design, intent design. All they need to know is that there is a controller there that will translate that design into the specific configurations in the network, in any part of the network that is needed, right? So all of these concepts are kind of applied across the entire portfolio. And there's a big shift towards the intent-based networking. When you look at what we've done with Network Services Platform, over the last few years, probably 3-4 years, we've introduced intent-based networking capabilities across the entire set of functions, right? So you can do network device configurations or network service configurations using these declarative intents. You can go and see the demos of infrastructure configuration manager, of intent-based service fulfillment, all of these applications, right, that allow you basically to have a fully programmable set of object models and APIs that you expose towards your application. So you decide to define what your object model for your service is, or what the configuration model should be for a certain policies, or whatever it is that you're trying to configure. So that is basically fully across NSP platform today. And the other aspect of it, and this is the part which has always been really, really important for us, is the assurance and optimization, right? We talked about the slicing earlier on. We talked about the different, more advanced configurations that we need to have to support, say, SLAs by creating dedicated slices for certain applications. Well, in order to do that, it's not sufficient to just push a configuration into a network. What we need to do is we need to be fully aware of the real-time state, topology, health of the network and configurations. And we need to have the set of tools that allow us to detect any configuration drift, to detect any changes in a network that impact the service or the health of the device, and then invoke set of actions, such as either align the misconfiguration or maybe re-optimize the network, or move the traffic from one part to the other because of the latency has increased because of the failure or things like that, right? So there's rich telemetry, rich assurance, and rich optimization that happens with that. So that's a big part of what we do. And then once we allow that, we also expose that, of course, through the APIs, very programmable, very open APIs, and UIs. We've put a lot of focus on user experience. We've been investing a lot in making sure that our GUIs are as simple as humanly possible, right? There's a ton of stuff that we're configuring here. Visualizing information is very difficult because of the complexity of these networks. So we are putting a lot of focus on making sure that we service up the most important things, highlight the things that matter to your operations, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a bit of work there. And speaking of assurance, as I mentioned earlier, from day one, we've always, for years now, we've always prided ourselves in our ability to provide assurance capabilities alongside with any configuration capabilities. We always believe that having, as I said, real-time topology, state, configuration information about the network is the way to go, that you can't just push configurations in a network. And we've seen it with many customers where, automation is done, something is pushed into the network, but then very next minute, they don't know what's the state of that service. They don't know what's the health of it. They can't correlate the service ID that was provisioned on one side with the service ID that is being monitored on the other side because the tools are not connected properly, et cetera. So there's quite a bit of work that we do here. And there's an entire session actually several sessions that Denis and Yves have later on this afternoon that talk about the assurance across enterprise market, all the applications that we have in dashboards, customizable dashboards, new ways of invoking OIM, advanced analytics. There are demos that you can see. So it's quite a bit of effort, quite a bit of investment for us, but we also see the value in doing that, and we continue to expand this set of capabilities. Now, there's another really important announcement I wanted to make today. So earlier this year, thank you. Earlier this year, we crossed the threshold of 1,000 active NSP customers around the globe. It is a very humbling milestone, I must say. Every single one of our engineers knows the magnitude of that milestone. Everyone understands that you are running your networks and your businesses by using our product and how important that is. And I do want to take the opportunity to thank you for that, for the confidence you put in us, in our teams, and for the partnership as well. You don't get 2,000 active customers without some strong partnerships and over many, many years. So it's a really humbling milestone, but thank you for the confidence and for the trust that you put in us. Now, speaking of evolution of time, I was there at the beginning of our IP network management solution, which was called 5620 SAM, and many of you might remember 5620 SAM. In early days of IP network management, the state of the art for network management and control was CLI. And when we talked to our customers those days about the values that 5620 SAM brought to the table, first question would be, well, why do I need it? I have a CLI, so what do I need a management platform for? Now, the world has changed since then, right? For years, we were leading the industry in bringing these capabilities of topology, state, end-to-end service-aware management, end-to-end network management to the market, and we've had great success with that. Then a few years back, with the introduction of the protocols like PSAP, like BGPLS, introduction of segment routing, we introduced our SDN solution, our stateful PCE, to allow for some use cases that we couldn't solve before, right? And that opened up quite a bit of this kind of set of use cases that I talked about earlier, telemetry-based optimization, or any kind of advanced slicing use cases that involved stringent requirements on services, leverage our SDN components, our stateful PC. The next wave is the one that I talked about earlier, is the move towards the declarative intent-based networking, enabled by, data models, YANG, NetConf, fully feature-rich telemetry that Rudy talked about, that allows us to be way more granular about monitoring the network. And this kind of unlocked this paradigm shift towards the intent-based networking. And then the next phase is the one that we talked about this morning, which is a cloud-native networking, and how do we move, add on those capabilities and really extend the declarative intent-based networking into the true GitOps or enhanced NetOps environments, full CI/CD environments. And we are working on this. But the interesting part is that as we go through this evolution, is that importance of assurance, importance of agility is just going up. Your networks are becoming more and more complex. They're becoming more and more dynamic every day, every year. And that importance of having the tools that help you deal with that goes up, not down, right? So now, for years, we've been kind of intuitively, we always knew that automation matters. And we always believed that helping our customers enhance the automation use cases in their network is beneficial. But only recently, we've actually started quantifying those benefits of automation. So last year, Analysys Mason did a study by talking to quite a few of our customers, and thanks to those of you who have participated, who have implemented automation use cases, automation projects, and then they try to quantify the benefits of those automation projects in their environments, right? And what I found interesting, and the study is, by the way, available with a lot of detail. This is just one slide kind of capturing the summary. What I found interesting is that, yes, there are savings and benefits on service fulfillment, service enablement. But those are typically the areas that traditionally have already been somewhat automated. So the investment in that area is smaller relative to the other areas in absolute value. So the savings are, while percentage-wise the savings are big, the absolute value of savings and benefits is actually smaller. What is very interesting to me is, and we've seen it with a number of customers, that there are a number of use cases for automation that are not very sexy, if you will, right? It's more about the life cycle management of your network. Upgrades, backup restores, migrations from one device of services from one device to the other. All of these things are very manual, very error-prone when done manually, and if automated, can yield good benefits and results. And then the last area, the one that I talked about earlier, is really near and dear to my heart, is network and service assurance. I think often as an industry over the years, we've underestimated the importance of it, how important it is to be able to get to the root causes of issues in the network quickly, to visualize the health and state of the network, to improve on mean time to repair, mean time to resolve. All of these metrics are helping ultimately with the end user customer satisfaction, and there's quite a few benefits in that area as well. So now we have the data, we have the quantifiable data about benefits. We know that automation matters, and as Vaj said, pretty much everybody is looking at automation in one way or the other in our industry. So what is preventing us from really taking automation in our industry to the next level and fully automating? I would argue that as an industry, we are behind many other industries when it comes to the degree of automation that you see in the networks. And one of the biggest challenges we see is the expertise. When you think about and pause for a moment to see what are we asking of our engineers who implement automation in the networks. We're asking them to be experts in software development and use all the modern software development tools, languages, methodologies, etc. They also need to be the experts on cloud and automation. They need to understand the CNCF ecosystem. They need to understand how to use the latest and greatest tools in the cloud environments and automation environments. And then we say, but that's not enough. You also really need to be a deep networking expert, because ultimately the devil is in the details of those services that you're automating or devices that you're automating. So really you need to know the networking domain quite a bit. So it's really hard to find that level of expertise in one place, right? So what we have been doing in developing those experts, both on our side, right, but also helping our customers in investing quite a bit in training, in consultancy, and so on and so forth. So Karen is going to talk about this in the next session. I don't want to steal her thunder, but I'm really, really pleased to announce that as of today, as of this event, you can now take NSP automation certification. Actually, there are certifications happening at this event right now. And the set of training sessions that are accompanying it, including the technology fundamentals, the programmable network automation, workflow design and management, and intent design and management, right? So those are the 4 courses. And we'll continue to invest in this kind of training sessions and certifications. We want to make sure that if you're building the expertise in your network, that you have access to these skills, and you can develop your teams accordingly. Conversely, we also invest a lot in our own teams. We have a very, very capable and big professional services arm that does the automation on top of NSP. And these are the teams that are the experts in automating use cases in around the globe, right? At any point in time, they're working on over 150 use cases around the globe. And when you think about what it takes to implement any given use case in a service provider network, you need developers, you need testers, you need solution architects, you need to have project managers, and you have to have integration experts. So there's quite a few skills that are needed in order for that to run smoothly. So we are investing quite a bit in building up those capabilities because the demand for automation is growing quite rapidly, right? So when you think about the way NSP is designed as a highly open and programmable platform, and in particular on both ends of the system, right? Towards the network, Rudy talked about the model-driven capabilities, right? We have a model-driven mediation into the network, which allowed us to be fully multi-vendor, which allowed us to be protocol and technology agnostic as well. We can talk to model-driven devices and netcom devices, but we can also talk to classics, SNMP, CLI, and other protocols, legacy, if you will, types of devices, and we can bridge that gap. So on the southbound, there's quite a bit of programmability. On the northbound, there's quite a bit of programmability, and then within a system, using workflow engine and other things, there's quite a bit of programmability. So there are a lot of our customers who say, hey, we have good engineering teams. We want to do it ourselves. Help us get there. So through the training, through on-demand consultancy, on-demand engagement from our teams. Sometimes we start by engaging, being part of the Scrum teams initially, but then pulling back. That's kind of engagement. We enable our customers to do automation themselves using the NSP as a platform. The other aspect is to use a use case catalog approach and to let us deliver predictable outcomes, use cases that are well-defined, scope, pricing, timelines, expectations are well-defined in the use case catalog, and allow our professional services team to combine the product and the necessary services to produce those artifacts that are needed to make it customizable to your needs, right? So these are the two ways of approaching the automation. Both ways work. to be quite honest, we are seeing more of the latter one just because the expertise is hard to find anywhere around the world. So we are the ones who have the expertise for the most part. So we mostly see the latter one, but the other engagement models are as well possible. So Mike is going to talk about this afternoon about the use case catalog approach a little bit more in a little bit more detail. So in the end, I want to leave you with a few thoughts. One is we talked about quite a bit about cloud native networking and this whole world of changing world of metaverse. I think it's safe to bet that these changes will drive the need for more automation. I think this is a pretty safe bet. Our portfolio, I'm very confident, can help our customers automate, right? An NSP is built as an automation platform, and it can help our customers automate a large number of use cases in different domains. And finally, our experts, our professional services team, has been doing this for a while, has been growing the expertise in size and in skills, and we can help you move or advance along this automation journey. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. I want to encourage you to spend time in the demo room. There's tons of stuff that we are showing, new developments that you probably haven't seen in the last few years, and to take advantage of the breakout sessions in the afternoon and tomorrow that go into a lot more details on these topics. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your event. Thank you.